You know what? We are all going through it, you know. Welcome to today's live, the Raw Food Health Empowerment Show. We have a really good show today. We're talking about this really amazing book called The End of Mental Illness by Dr. Daniel Amen. And I encourage you all to read it. I did put the link to the book in the description so you all can read. And on the thumbnail for this talk for today, I had exercising daily is not an option. And that was like the main thing that I got out of not only his book, but also my own personal experience with just mental well-being, keeping my stress and anxiety low, and keeping my self-positive thoughts. He talks about like automatic, I think they're called ants, automatic negative thoughts, where, you know, your brain will just tell you things that you know isn't true. You know what I'm saying? And the only thing that comes to mind is like in the church they say the devil is a liar, and the devil is really the mind, because the mind is not you. You can hear the mind, but you know it's not you, because you know that's not either something you would do to yourself, or that's not really how you feel about yourself. Like, I know my mind has told me some really negative, nasty things that, you know, I go to sleep, I wake up the next day, I'm like, that's stupid. You know, that's silly. So that's clearly not me.
But when they says the devils talk to you, see, if you leave yourself idle, the devil take over your mind. Believe me, because he's giving you all negative thoughts. Mm-hmm. You can have positive thinking and negative thinking. Anything negative is from the devil. Trust me on that one. Trust me. The devil can also mess up your mind. So you have to be careful who and what you listen to.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for joining us. I know we have a couple people watching us live. Definitely type into the chat if you've had this experience where your mind is giving you some negative chatter, but you know you love yourself better than that. Or if you felt like low mood, just low energy, fatigue. I know a lot of people have joined the community and said that they've felt low energy and fatigue. And a brilliant thing that Dr. Amen brings up in his book is blood flow, right? How essential blood flow is. And I have my notes here. But he says lack of blood flow is a risk factor to having mental illness. So like if you have a sedentary lifestyle and limited exercise, which means less than 2 times a week, this puts you at risk. And I noticed for myself, like, you know, feeling tired. And when I'm tired, I notice when I'm tired, my mind gets negative. Everything seems doom and gloom. It seems like, you know, everything I'm doing is for nothing. You know, it's just like everything is just, you know, everything sucks. People suck, everything sucks when I'm tired. When I have energy, everything's great. Look at all the possibilities in life, you know? It's just like rosy.
Can I say something right there? Put a pin there. Because when you exercise, and we are talking about the brain now, when you exercise, it helps the brain for you to think clearly.
Yes.
When you exercise, the blood flow to the brain gets better. And I can testify to it. I will get up I don't get up moody in the morning, because first of all, when I get up in the morning, I give God thanks that I could see another day. He didn't have to bring me through this day, but he gave it to me, and I'm grateful. But it's not, and I'm under the human condition to begin with. So when I get up in the morning, it's not every morning I get up and I'm peachy and pie, but when I exercise, it changes my whole mood.
Yeah.
And I try now what I do, and I ask the Lord to forgive me. I give him thanks when I get up, but I used to do my devotion before exercise, but now I do my exercise before devotion because it clear my mind. It help my brain to function better. So yes, I can testify to that, that exercise is good for the brain.
Yes. And even what I've noticed too, I have a stand-up desk now. So I'm not sitting as long as I would normally because most of my work is on the computer, right? And if I'm low energy, low mood, just standing up and doing the same work, standing up, I feel better. I feel more energy. And it's that blood
Exactly.
flow. So it's like I definitely understand this, what he's saying, and how like I've felt this for myself. One of the other things he mentions about blood flow risk factor, right? This is blood flow risk factor to your mental health and mental well-being. Meaning if you low mood, depressed, fatigued, or have any other like mental illness issues, this is something you really need to pay attention to. Pre-diabetic or diabetic. This is a blood flow risk factor, right? So we talk a lot on the show about eating clean and what that looks like. And I should probably have a link here. I can share a link. I have a freebie that you can download on gut health, but I don't have it available to me right now. I'd have to find the link, but I could drop it in the chat when I'm done.
Right.
And I also have a eat clean challenge, which may be helpful, but making sure that you're eating the right foods so that you can prevent type 2 diabetes and reverse diabetes. If you have it, reverse pre-diabetes. This is essential. He also brings up sleep apnea. And we just had the Raw Food Health Empowerment Summit where Star talked about how she had sleep apnea. She went and engaged in a raw vegan diet and lost 70 pounds. And
Wow,
it's
yes.
helped reverse her sleep apnea. So I'm sorry, this person who's watching the live left a comment and I cannot pronounce the name, but she says, they says, I agree, I feel better when I exercise, but the problem is having the energy and motivation to work out. And I'm glad that you bring this up because I don't always have the energy or the motivation to work out. I just know from history that it's helped me. Like I am a happier person when I work out consistently. I have less physical pain in my body when I do yoga on a regular basis. I know I feel more energetic when I do restorative yoga and go to sound healing. So because I've had those experiences and I know what it's like to feel low mood and low energy and to be fatigued, I just have it on my schedule and it's a non-negotiable. When you know something is a non-negotiable, you just do it anyway. It's like brushing your teeth. You don't wait to get cavities or to end up with black teeth and have to remove it and all that stuff. You brush your teeth anyway. You just made it a practice. It's a non-negotiable. And this is the point really with the exercise. The exercise is not the data, and the science says you're not necessarily going to lose weight exercising. Although if you have a lot to lose, just walking, you could lose weight, but if you don't have that much and you're pretty much in your healthy weight range, exercise is not really going to help you lose weight. Why we exercise is for our mental and emotional health. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is for me. And then also our bodies, because literally if you don't move your body, things get stiff, they get tight, and things will start to hurt really bad. Trust me, I know. I'm in physical therapy right now for my foot and my neck. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And if I had been making sure that yoga was a regular practice, making sure strength training was a regular practice from before, and doing all of these things, then I wouldn't have this situation. I mean, of course, things are gonna come up, but You want to stay, that's how you pretty much stay in the game and keep your mind not only sharp, thinking better, clearer, so that you have more cognitive abilities, right? But also so that you can just stay present, stay happy, and just like enjoy your life.
Okay, I just have one comment to make about the person who talk about the exercise and the energy not to exercise. A couple of years ago, I found this woman on YouTube, and I've been following her ever since. I mean, I just love her spirit. I love what she does. And all it takes is 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes of stretching. And from you do the 5 minutes of stretching, that can motivate you to do something else. So start out with 5 minutes. You don't have to do 30 or 40 minutes. Just start out with stretching your body. When you realize how much your body needs stretching, then you can go into exercise. But I do a lot of housework. I move around a lot. I walk a lot. So my exercise, my stretching in the morning that I'm motivated to do, 5 minutes. And you're fine for the day. And I do a lot of walking. I walk around a lot. So it all those is incorporated in exercise. But try to be disciplined to do 5 minutes of stretching your complete body. And if you follow that lady on YouTube, I can't remember her name now, but you probably can drop it in the
Yeah, and we're gonna resonate too with different people and different things. So it's like finding what you like.
As a matter of fact, when you go on YouTube, it's for people over 50, 5 minutes of, and I'm way over 50. 5 minutes of body stretching in the morning, and it is beautiful. It makes your body feel so good. You'll be surprised. I'm only 70 years young.
70 years young. Yes, thank you.
70 years young.
You know, folks in the family have asked me, and remind me to tell you who exactly they were, about your age. And I'm like, why don't you just ask her?
Yeah, because I never, even while I was growing up young and so, as a matter of fact, even I stood in church already, I made myself a year older. And it's after I finished talk, I realized what I just said. I made myself a year older. I never have a problem telling my age because it's not just how I look. I don't really care about the look because I'm not worried about that. It's how I feel.
Yeah.
And I say 70 because my 70 feel like 35. And I mean, that's just how my body feel.
Yeah.
And I thank you, Lord. Thank you. When I boast in the Lord.
Yes.
I do boast in the Lord. Yes.
And you know what? Honestly, you are a great example of what Dr. Daniel Amen talks about in his book for how to basically heal mental illness and bring about mental wellness. Of course, there's a lot of nuance to it. But one, you have a strong spiritual practice.
Yes.
You have strong social connections in your family and with the church.
Yes.
You provide service to others. So volunteering of your time at home and at the church, and here actually on Saturdays with us, so you have a lot of these things. Plus you're physically very active, just around the house. And this thing that you said that you do when you wake up, he talks about that too. Like waking up, you put your feet on the floor, you say, today's going to be a good day.
Yes. Always give thanks. Always have gratitude for every morning you wake up. And it will follow you for the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then he says at night, before you go to bed, you ask yourself, what went well today?
And then I say everything.
So I've been doing this for now, I think it's a month. He said if you do it for 3 weeks, you'll find yourself happier based off of a study that he did with his people, right?
Right.
And I've been doing it.
And it's also good. It's also good to write a gratitude list. Mm-hmm. If you do it daily, check it off at night before you go to bed. And then you will feel good about yourself. It gives you a nice feeling. Write a list,
Yeah.
Gratitude list, yeah.
Because the mind always wants to go to the negative. Like, I didn't like this person's response to what I said. That meeting didn't go well, or whatever. Like the mind will always, because the mind has negativity bias, right? So it always goes to the negative. which is why negative news is so popular and why it can't stop.
Yes.
Like one of his things is his suggestions, like the way he outlines the book is like if you are a ruler that wants to encourage mental illness, this is what you do. But if you are a good ruler that wants to end mental illness, this is what you do, right? And
Yes.
one of the things he has for like the mental ruler that wants to encourage mental illness is to keep putting negative news up. But the thing is, because our minds have negativity bias, we like that. And the news and social media, all social media platforms run on an algorithm. The news stations, they're looking at analytics. What has the most eyeballs? Because what has the most eyeballs is going to make the most sales. You could get the most advertising dollars and things like this. So if our brain already has negativity bias, we are going to tune into negative news. In which case, the people who are sharing positive news aren't going to get as much support. You understand? So it's like understanding how our brain works and then deciding to do something different. Because the mind, that's when we come back about the devil is the liar. It's the mind. The mind is the liar.
The mind,
that negativity bias. Because if you focus on it, that's all you see. You're like, oh my gosh, my environment is dangerous. No, that's what the news shows. The news is not showing you all the positive things happening in your community and how people are walking on the streets, doing walks together and getting home safely. They're not going to show you that on the news because that's not going to stop.
They show you the one who get killed to get
Yes.
They show yeah. But this is why and in his book he talk about you first should check the brain before you really diagnose somebody with mental illness. The brain need to be checked. Because a lot of times there's something wrong with the brain, and this is why people behave the way they behave. So if they can fix the brain, just like the heart, because I always saying, and I think we did podcasts before where we talk about mental illness. We did talk about it, and anxiety and depression and all that. There's a stigma about mental illness, and I think if we try to find out to see what's happening to the brain, then we'll be able to see what's going on with that person's life, because it's a brain that is sick. And when your brain is sick, it does affect your mind. It does affect the mind.
Yes, and this is I wanted to mention, like, so we're talking about, for those who just joined us live, thank you for joining us live. We're talking today about Dr. Daniel Amen's book, The End of Mental Illness. And I did drop a link to the book in the description of this video. It is, I think everyone should read it, to be honest. Like, I can't think of a job out there that doesn't need this book. Like, if you work in local government or even federal government, you need this book. If you are a doctor, you need this book. If you are a psychologist, you need this book. If you're a coach, if you work in the beauty industry, you need this book. Because he talks about the chemicals. So we've talked a lot about chemicals in our environment, right? And how they're endocrine disruptors, they're obesogenic chemicals, right? So not only do they make us fat, but they also disrupt our hormones. And that means we get things like PCOS and hormone imbalances where we're having painful menstruation or PMS symptoms or things like this, right? He takes it to another level in terms of the impact on the brain, where he shows if your brain is damaged, which it can be damaged. So like alcohol, for example, is a huge damager of the brain, where literally you can see the damage to the physical brain. He does scans on the brain. But even for folks who don't drink alcohol, they can see the same level of damage from chemicals that you either smell or inhale from toxins around you. Maybe you live in an urban environment where those toxins are prevalent, or maybe you work in a factory or something like this. And he showcases how that affects people's mood and behavior. So you have someone who is very self-controlled, well-mannered, nice, beautiful person, and then all of a sudden this damage to their brain from the toxins makes them volatile. They're angry all the time. You can't have a conversation with them without them blowing up and just being a jerk, right? And so I always think, because like this past week, the Washington Post, I'll drop this link in the chat. They posted an article basically saying that they did a research study that analyzed data showing that not all air pollution is created equal. The lead researcher on the study, his name is Jack Kodros, he was quoted saying that the main thing we found was that individuals in racially segregated communities are not only breathing a higher concentration of total particulate matter air pollution, but are also breathing a form of that pollution that is more concentrated in toxic and carcinogenic metal components, right? So not only do we have to be concerned about cancer, but because of this high toxic load on segregated communities, right, that are still segregated, because I believe like redlining was outlawed, 50 years ago?
Right, yes.
And
it's
so,
about that.
Which is not that long ago, right?
No.
And so, but we still see the impacts of it. I know for a fact, Queens, you can see, you know what I'm saying? You could see it. And when I was there, I didn't think it was a big deal. I actually felt like, oh, I'm not born in Jamaica, West Indies, but I still feel like I have the culture because of where I grew up, and I'm sure the people in Flushing could say the same. The people in Jackson Heights could say the same, because it's very concentrated. The cultures are very concentrated in Queens in these different areas. Mm-hmm. But the reason it's like that has to do by systemic racism and redlining. That was not only it was endorsed and promoted and complied by the federal government, insurance companies, private companies, where these people are concentrated and pretty much still segregated. And the toxic load is there due to freeways coming in and boxing these neighborhoods in, mobile repair places that have all these chemicals, different chemical plants coming in. And they even talk about it in this article, how these things in these neighborhoods make the air
polluted,
more toxic. It causes brain and kidney damage, as well as harm to unborn children during periods of long-term exposure. So you're talking unborn children, that's pregnant women, right, who are in these neighborhoods. And Dr. Daniel Amen talks about in his book where, we start off with a certain amount of brain reserves, right? But even before we leave the womb, some of us, right? So like when you look at two people, right? So we were talking about, you have 7 siblings, Mom, and everybody's different, right? Why is everybody different? Even when you look at your friends, you could say, oh, your friends are different because they had, different parents, that the households were probably different. But if you have 7 other siblings, grew up in the same household, same parents, y'all eating the same diet, you know what I'm saying? Why are y'all different? And so he explains that we all have reserves. So like, let's say the reserve is at 100%, but mama is pregnant with baby 1, right? And she's exposed to toxic chemicals that affect the fetus. Baby comes out and has less reserves than maybe the next baby who's mama's not exposed to those things at that time, right? So we come into the world and we have now different levels of reserves. And
Right.
based on our lifestyle and our environment, those reserves either get depleted or enhanced and supported. And so this is why he can say the end of mental illness, because there are things we can do. Nothing is set in stone. We can do things to help our brain function better, which helps our moods function better. But the reason why I wanted to bring up this article and some of these things that people are discussing about what's happening in Black and brown communities is this is where you see a lot of our people are getting pulled up into prison, right?
Right.
You know, even when
yeah.
they have money, right? Because I know when I started the podcast, I was like, listen, my family and the Black community in general, everybody seems to be so into money. Money is everything, right? But what about the food? Why aren't people paying attention to the food, investing in the food and our health? You know, why is everything about money? But then I understand that, you know, I came to some different understanding that, you know, it's like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is one of our podcasts, right? Like if there's no money, people aren't thinking about it because money, you know, you have to get to a certain level of comfort before you're even thinking about a self-actualization and all these types of things. However, what I wanted to highlight is there's a basketball player, and I'm blanking on his name, and I didn't save the information, but he had the money, right? He had the money, and something happened to him. So he has some kind of mental disturbance going on right now, where he was a well-known basketball player, and if anybody could know who I'm talking about, you could post it in the chat, because they were just talking about him this week because he just got arrested again because of he's homeless on the street and he's acting up, doing all sorts of things, right? And all I could think about is the people around him need to read this book, because something happened to his brain and he had money. That's why it's like, it's not about the money. We see it in the Black community. People have money, but they lose it just as fast as they get it, number one. And a lot of times it's because of their health, and they're not getting the support to their health. This guy had everything. Well-known and very good basketball player. Like, I can't remember his name now, but yeah, Dante West, Joey Sunshine. Thank you so much. It's something West, so it must be Dante. Because I'm like, how you go from being a well-known basketball player to now being homeless on the street and acting a fool, doing all sorts of crazy things because his brain is damaged. Somebody needs to look into his brain and get him some help.
Well, a lot of sports people are like that, though. A lot of them, that some of them you don't know of, but a lot of them is like that.
Especially the football players, because the way Dr. Daniel Amen explains is our brain is very soft and squishy. And it's encased in a skull, which is hard and sharp. And so if you are like this, shaking baby syndrome?
Yes.
It's us too.
And young mothers, be careful. Young mothers, because sometimes mothers have a way of bang and daddy, bang, bang in the child head. That's not good.
Yes. Even one of the things he mentioned too was falling off a tree. And I know where you grew up, people was climbing trees all the time to get coconuts and stuff like that. You could fall off a tree and there's damage to the head. And maybe nobody notices right away, right? Maybe nobody notices right away. But you start to see a little bit of behaviors off. The person's a little bit more irritable. They don't have the patience they used to have. Right? Because the reserves are lower if there's damage depending on the damage to the different areas of the brain, right? And he talks about all that. So definitely pick up the book, because he talks about the different areas of the brain cause different issues. But this had me thinking, like, how many of our Black brothers and sisters are in prison because of head trauma?
Yes, that's true.
And of toxins in our communities due to racism, and they're acting up not because they're bad people, but because literally they're sick. You know what I'm saying? Yes. It just feels like an injustice. Like
it is an injustice.
You know what I'm saying?
And nobody checked the brain to see. They just put them into this category. Oh, yeah, they're mentally ill. Boom. Give them a pill, put them away. Nobody checked their brain. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense to me.
And some
Brain
people
check.
aren't even being I think right now, like, hopefully there's some kind of empathy for folks with mental illness. But some people we wouldn't even consider mentally ill. We just know they
Right.
pop off. So like this week we were talking about the rapper, and Joey Sunshine, maybe you could help me out here because I didn't write it down because I didn't expect to talk about it today. But this young rapper from Migos, right? You heard about it, right, Ma? Because I'm sure it's been on the news.
Yeah, the one who got shot?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were talking about, the conversation on Twitter about how they were saying, I would love to see black men just grow old. Too many of these black men are dying at young ages, right?
Too young.
And I know, like friends of my family members, the young men that die early is because of stroke and cardiovascular issues. They're dying at 40 and 50, young, right? But also there's a lot of gun violence. So on the show The Boondocks, right, there was an episode called something about a nigga moment. And I was trying to explain to you where basically it's like they had this young black man with a undershirt and some jeans walking in the street. This other black man kind of like hits him on the shoulder or whatever, like, just kind of bumps into him. They turn around, they start shooting at each other, like mad bullets raining, right?
Yeah.
And so they call that a nigga moment, right? But we know there's a lot of gun violence, going on. And there's a lot of reasons why, right? So we have a lot of different perspectives as to why. From the nutrition perspective, I would say what you eat affects your mood, in which case, if you eating food that makes you more irritable because you're physically uncomfortable,
of course.
you have
what
less
you
reserve.
eat.
Yeah, you have
We
less
talked
reserve,
about that
less
before.
patience. Yes. Then you have the community development and nonprofit folks who say, listen, if these people are well resourced, right, with good education, access to capital for businesses, so people could create jobs in these communities, this stuff wouldn't happen, right? There's that. But now Dr. Daniel Amen comes in with a different angle now, right? All of these things are still true, but there's something else going on here. If in our communities we have all these toxins that's bringing our reserves down, right? And our brain is damaged. There is no emotional intelligence and self-control. There's no reserve for that. We don't have those cognitive capabilities, right? And there's data and studies. That's where his book, this is not like, pulling information out of our ass, right? Like this book is basically explaining the science behind why this would happen. Literally, damage to the brain will make someone act in a way that we would think is very destructive to them, to the community, and to the world at large. Right? I'll call you B. I don't know who this is. B. I'll call you B. It says it's all by design and it's very unfortunate. They create illness, and because they created it, they can't actually provide the cure because it would expose the truth. So they offer drugs.
And that is so true.
That's a word.
That is so true. That's a fact, sweetheart. Whoever that is so true.
That is a word.
And this is why you have the pharma company that making such money. And you know who they're making it off? Hello. It is a fact. That is the fact.
Yep.
That's the answer. That's the answer right there.
That's it right there. He has the blueprint in the book on what can be done from every angle. Like literally everybody, every job you could possibly have in this country. You need to read this book.
After I listened to one of his video, I decided I'm going to go back, which I had my brain checked before. They can't find anything wrong with it. But now I'm going to go back and have them checked to make sure I have a healthy brain. Because they did check my brain. They said they don't find anything wrong with my brain. It's, the reason why I did get it checked because of the passing out thing. But
Yeah.
now I want them to check to make sure there's no holes in there.
Yes. You know what? The thing is, too, and you passed out on the plane, and he talks about the toxic air on the plane and how pilots in particular have damage to their brain because of the toxic air on planes. So this article, outdoor air pollution is estimated to be responsible for 5 to 10% of total annual premature mortality, according to these two researchers. And then they talk about lead concentrations, which he also touches on in the book as a huge risk factor to our brain health. But in this article of the Washington Post that I had shared, I think it's the Washington Post that I shared, yeah. It says that lead concentrations were about 4 times higher in urban areas compared with non-urban areas. And iron levels, which this is toxic iron, right? Not bioavailable iron that we would get from our foods. But iron levels were 3 times higher in urban areas than in non-urban areas. So Dr. Amen, he says lead exposure causes mental health issues, including depression and panic disorder. Now, you talk about all of these news things where people are running from the police, and you like, why are you running? Are they panicking?
Yes, they're panicking.
Is that a panic response? And there's so many different reasons why they would be panicking, right? But could it also be lead exposure that affects the brain, which now affects your decision making? So now you are in a panic response.
Exactly.
And so now it's even more dangerous for you because the police look at you now as a threat.
Yes.
Then he mentions lipstick. We've talked about makeup on the show and how much toxic chemicals is in there. Lipstick, 60% of national brands have lead in the lipstick. And this affects men because if the men are kissing women with
they get it too.
Yes.
Because they're not wiping off the lipstick before a kiss. They just apply more after a kiss.
Yes. And this, I feel like this is another touch point in terms of, like, we talk about the family. I know this is really important for our community. And a lot of people, family dynamics is really important, but some people have made it a political thing, like Marco Rubio. I'm in Florida, so he comes to mind, where he had this thing, specifically a program that he supported and backed for Black men in Florida. And he talked about, I watched this thing that he was talking about one time. And again, this is not something I had planned to bring up. It's just come to me right now. So I don't have any links to share. But he was talking about this program. And he was specifically talking about why he thought it was important that Black men get support. And he pinpointed on the family dynamics. We know from the data, actually, I think it was NAACP and the Brookings Institution recently that did a study together that they're going to continue. It's going to be a yearly thing. And let me see if I could find that NAACP. I be reading so much stuff. I don't even gather all these links and stuff because I don't even think I'll share it. But they did some kind of analysis, and It's called the State of Black America or something. You could research it. Please research it. Google the Brookings Institution, NAACP, the State of Black America. And it's like a whole like data thing. One of the things that they showed on there, I don't know, Ma, if I shared it with you, but they showed that the group with the highest proportion of single parent households is number one, black families, and second, Hispanic. No. Second, Native American. And
second, Native American.
Yeah. And third was Hispanic. But first was Black, right?
Black.
And Marco Rubio had made this like a point that he was talking about why he was doing this program for Black men. Now, when I hear this thing about all these toxins affecting our community because of where we live, right? And how that is literally damaging the brain, and how the damaging of the brain puts us at risk of getting incarcerated or being killed by the police, right? And or not even being able to hold down a job because of we're just mentally not well, and no one knows why. They think we're just a bad person, right? This also affects the home dynamic, right? Because
yes, it does.
You're in a partnership with somebody and you don't know that something is wrong with their brain. All you're seeing is that they seem aggressive, they seem volatile. They're hard to talk to. They're maybe not able to focus. You don't feel loved because they can't pay attention to you. They can't focus on you. This is one of the signs of a damaged brain.
Damaged brain, yeah. But how do you fix it, though?
Well, he tells you in the book. He tells you in the book.
Well, remember, I've read the book. I only read insert from what you send me, and
yes. Right.
And I saw some of his video, and I fall in love with him because I think he's so funny. In the video, he's very, very funny, and he run jokes about himself, you know?
Yeah,
he's
when
a funny
somebody did mention that, he's a psychotherapist who decided to do things a little differently by actually looking at the physical brain, because psychotherapists don't do that. They just do talk therapy or whatever. And someone said that they really appreciated the fact that the way he wrote this book, he's talking about his own family. And he talks about his nieces that he had to adopt because their parent was like a drug addict or something. And so he's been really intentional about helping them not fall into the same predicament as their parents, because they're more at risk since their parents, had this situation, or specifically the mom or something like this. And because he talks about his own family and he makes those, he's like very relatable, like it's not like I'm the all-knowing on high. It's like this, it's, we all need to we all need to do it. It's exercise and a lot of these other things. And I'll start to go into some of the recommendations, but that I pinpointed, but I can't talk about all of them because there's a lot, it's a lot.
I know.
Especially if you have something specific, because then he goes into nutraceuticals, GABA, and all this kind of stuff, which, so it's like, it can be very specific. So B says, I will definitely be picking up this book. Did he mention toxic dental amalgam fillings? Yes, this is an issue as well. But I don't remember the dental fillings, but this is a well-known thing about dental fillings.
Oh yeah, that can damage you. That can damage like people wear not just dental, but there's people who is going to get this gold cap over their teeth. That can also damage the brain. Mm-hmm. It have some effect on the brain. They put this gold cap over your natural teeth. It can cause damage to the brain.
Yeah, one of the things he does mention, though, that I need to put it out here, but dental health is super important. One of the things he talks about is making sure to floss, which I know some people don't do because they don't think it's important, but he literally is talking about gum disease and how that can affect things. Remember, it's blood flow and all of that. So,
yes, yeah,
your dental health does impact your cardiovascular health, which is why it can affect chronic, chronic disease and chronic illness. So making sure to floss. So one of the things he recommends is limiting screen time and more time outdoors. And I highlighted this because this is like, personally, I know this to be true because ever since I was a child, remember my first set of glasses, Ma, I told you I get nauseous in front of the screen. So you took me to the eye doctor, and the eye doctor explained to me I had to wear these glasses because the screen has these lines and they run really fast, so they're making me nauseous. But the glasses didn't do anything. Mm-hmm. And I can see fine, right? But what I've noticed is that not only do I feel nauseous, but the computers zap my energy. Not only the computers, but the phone. The phone to a lesser extent, but the computers, all these devices, they literally suck the life force energy out of me, right? So, which is why I noticed by Thursday, I'm pretty much done with the week. You know,
You're done with what?
The
with
week.
What?
With the
Oh,
week.
the week. Okay.
Yeah,
Week,
like
yeah.
I like a 5-day work week or whatever we're, you know. No, I need a 3-day work week. I need 4 days of weekends and 3 days of work, because the computers it's literally killing everything that you as my mother like about me. It kills that.
No, don't let that happen.
Which is why
Maybe you have the wrong job. Maybe you need to be a nurse this way you can do per diem. Per diem, you only work 3 days, but you're on your foot for 35 hours for the 3 days.
so the standing desk helps me, but leaving these computers completely. When I go to the Chopra Center, my phone doesn't even connect to internet. And there's been times when it has irritated me a lot, because I'm like, I need to be on for people. People expect me, you know, but now I'm like, you know what? Instead of getting a VPN, maybe I should just make a mental note. When I go there, I am cutting off from society. I am leaving internet. And, you know, it's by an airport. So one of the yoga teachers told me that when the planes land, there's like I forget what she calls it, but like a blitz that they send out. So all your calls drop.
Oh, wow.
And I think it's so that the air traffic controllers and the people in the plane or whatever, the pilot, can communicate. So everyone else around, everyone else around there, no signal, not even phone signal, you can't get, right? Which I thought was interesting. And she alluded to the fact that it affects our health. I'm pretty sure it does. I haven't read any data on it. But yeah. So, but anyway, I wanted to highlight that limiting screen time and more time outdoors, because I think my generation, the millennials who are working online and stuff like this, like, and on computers, it's one of those things. It's a hard decision to make, because you almost feel like you're making a decision, either choose your health or money to survive, and which is a hard choice. So I can't make that decision for anybody, but I can tell you, for me, since it's something I've noticed, and I'm choosing me, I like me joyful, and I like me with energy, and so I take breaks, and I just step away. I go outside, and I just completely leave my devices.
That's important. Yeah.
That's important.
That's important. Yeah. I don't watch a lot of screen on anything, but the TV or the computer or whatever. If I turn the TV on, my back is to the TV and I'm listening to it, because, you know, maybe God have it so that I have issues with my eye. And when I look at this, it bothers my eye. So I don't look. I just listen. I know who is talking, so I don't have to see the TV. I don't stare at the TV. I don't have TV time like that anyhow, because I stay on my feet. I keep the blood circulating.
And I think now too, and I say this with, you know, everybody online connected with me. I appreciate you, and I will continue to be here, right? But I do feel like there is a need for connection, which he talks about in the book as being important, right? Social isolation is really bad for the brain. Having positive relationships is very good for the brain. He even talked about a study they did on babies to see if they could, what happens when they don't get physical touch. And these babies died, Ma. When I read this story, I was like, oh my gosh.
But remember, I told you that's what I want to do when I retire. They call them the border babies, to go to the hospital and hold these babies. They've never been held by human being. They're just in these, you know, because these babies are from people who was on drugs or mother died, leave their babies. There's no one to take care of the babies. And that's something that I want. And still, want to do is to go and hold these babies. They call them border babies. Just to hug them and, give them some nurturing,
Yeah.
They need that. They need to hear the sound of somebody's voice and to be close to someone,
Yeah, because they
So that's something that I still think
they
of doing.
literally die. And I'm like, the
Yeah, they
parents
do.
that gave these babies up for the study, I mean, did they even know? Because at that time, nobody knew, so I could
They
just...
had no choice. There we go again with the brain. The brain needs so somebody to leave their babies and don't want their babies. That's damaged brain. That brain need to be fixed. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's a lot of damaged brains out there, Sam, and it's not their
Yeah.
fault.
Right. Another recommendation he has: incorporate foods that lower blood pressure. And I highlighted this because I know a lot of folks in the community are dealing with high blood pressure. Now, of course, you have to eat whole food vegan. Bare minimum.
Yeah.
Right? Whole food vegan. So that means no processed food, right? But he highlights beet juice, broccoli, celery, garlic, chickpeas, and mushrooms.
I have that like every day.
Yeah, staples. Staples. The beet juice, I don't have beet juice every day, but I have a lot of beets, especially now we're in the fall season. I like to
I
have
love the
beets.
juice, yes. And the celery is nice
and
too.
broccoli.
Celery juice is very nice.
Yes. So if you are in the mood for some juice feasting this time around, I think this makes a nice juice. Beet, broccoli, celery, or even just beet and celery, I think is really good.
Yeah, and even celery and carrot is wonderful because
Yeah.
he didn't say anything about carrots.
No.
Oh, he had to drop that in there.
How dare he not say anything about carrots?
I love carrot juice.
Yeah, and I know we only have a few minutes left, but I think I pretty much made my main points. I could continue to talk about redlining and all this and the effect, but I think you pretty much got what I was trying to say about.
And the book said it all. So anyone interested, they can get the book.
Yes,
We're not getting a deal from the book or anything. Let's put that out there. We're not getting no profit from this pushing this book, but it will help everyone who reads it. I myself don't pick up a copy as yet. But I am going to get a copy because I personally need to know all these things because if I read it, I'm able to help someone who is suffering from damaged brain.
Yeah.
And damaged brain can be fixed.
And specifically, so just to correct something you said. So the link in the description to the book, when you buy from that link, you do support small local bookstores and this show. So I appreciate you for using that link. However, get the book however way you want it. Definitely read the book. And also on that, for those who feel like, this doesn't relate to me or anybody I know, I'm telling you, he's talking about mental illness, right? Of all kinds, but he's also talking about irritability, dark thoughts, anxiety, depression symptoms, mood instability, right? Mood instability and memory issues. So
because he even showed the brain on Alzheimer's, dementia, people going through that. This is why I want a picture of my brain. I want to see what a healthy brain look like or a unhealthy brain. It's good to know.
Yeah, and he has images in the book of what a healthy brain looks like and what the damage to the brain looks like, different types of damages, what the brain looks like. Now, for you to get your own imaging, you would need to do a SPECT scan. And there are Amen clinics, I think, throughout the country. I know for sure there's in Chicago, so you could probably find an Amen clinic by you.
Oh, that's nice to know.
Yeah, to get a SPECT scan if you suspect anything. Because obviously there's low-level radiation, right? So it's not something you want to do on a regular basis.
Well, can I say something? Mm-hmm. If we are an adult, somewhere along the line, we get some damaged brain somehow. So it would be nice to know. Whether it's damage from anxiety, whatever it's damaged or what caused it to be damaged, whether it's dementia or Alzheimer's, we need to get it checked. So I will be a candidate.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and for me, I just do the recommendations. So I'm like, I want to drink the juice, you know. I want to see what's going on. But if something crazy happens, you know, like with me, then yeah, I'm gonna get, you know, like for example, if you have somebody who's very volatile, but you love that person, it may be worth getting a scan on them. If you know, obviously
Right.
you can't force people to do that,
No.
but maybe you can talk to them and educate them that even though they're acting like this and it's affecting relationships, we know it's not truly them. We know that they're a loving person, and because the brain could be potentially not well, you know,
Exactly.
this
One
is how we
important
want to
thing
help.
before one important thing before you go off. You don't think it would be advisable though for a lot of these people when they take in somebody that do something so terrible, so wrong, check their brain to see what's there instead of just start putting them on medication. You don't think they should check their brain first to see if the brain is damaged?
And I would say even our prison system,
Exactly.
before anything goes on anybody's record,
Check the brain first.
and this is why I'm gonna bring my book. I gotta show you the book. I gotta show you my book, which is my regular reading, Become an Abolitionist.
Yes.
And I found out about this book through the United Church of Christ because Derica did a talk with the United Church of Christ. They have these regular meetings and things, and I loved her talk because before I couldn't understand the whole abolition conversation. I'm like, what do you mean? The guy who went in that church and shot 8 black people in Bible study, he shouldn't be in prison? Like, what you mean? But now I understand.
But they should check his brain.
But
he need a brain check.
Yes, and you know what? On that note, there's a show, one of my favorite shows, New Amsterdam, right?
Yeah, New Amsterdam.
On NBC. New Amsterdam, and this is their last season. They had, I think it was last season or 2 seasons ago. And this show is based off of a book about a hospital in New York called it starts with a B. Dang, I can't remember. But some guy, it's like based off of actual experience of a
in
hospital.
New York City, Brookdale Hospital.
Not Brookdale. It starts with a B.
Okay.
Anyway, you could Google it. but anyway, there's a psychologist in the hospital because it's a public hospital, and you're gonna know the name. It's gonna come to you. It starts with a B. It's a public hospital, and a child came in, right? And the psychologist diagnosed this young child, right? We go through the whole journey on the show, but the child is missing some kind of gland or something in the brain that makes us empathetic. So she will cause harm to somebody and laugh about it. She don't have any kind of empathy or sympathy or nothing because something is missing in her brain. She doesn't have it.
Okay.
She was born without it. So she became almost like I would consider, like for her parents, I was scared for her parents. You know what I'm saying? Because she's a child. And in Dr. Daniel Amen's book, and even in a lot of, if you're into nutrition and you study these things, you probably heard that our prefrontal cortex actually does not fully develop until we get into our early 20s. So
that's why you have to be very careful when children are young.
Yes, which is why we don't get our licenses until a certain age and why we can't drink until a certain age, because literally we're not able to make
decision.
Yes, right, until our early 20s, wise ones, and so somewhat wise ones. So anyway, now this child is missing that. When I saw this child on this show, I was like, maybe this guy, whatever his name was that went into that church, because when the police pulled him up, Dylan Roof, when they arrested him, he didn't seem remorseful at all. He didn't
No.
seem remorseful. And even like I just don't understand how you can do that. Even if you hate black people or whoever, you go into a church, these people are praying. And they praying for you. You know what I'm saying? And so, so it gets complicated, but I definitely think that this Dr. Daniel Amen's book goes really along with this whole abolitionist thing, because there are things that we need to be doing that we're not doing, in which case maybe we don't get rid of prisons altogether, but they can look a lot differently. We can actually be rehabilitating people instead of just locking them up and paying for them to be locked up and get free food and all this kinds of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At least rehabilitate them. You know what I'm saying? So, because our system is messed up.
Oh, it is messed up. Definitely messed up. But Sam, you do read a lot.
I
must say. Yeah.
I do. I have a friend who says it's information overload, but you know what? I like to learn. This is my my love language.
And there's nothing wrong with it. And I appreciate the fact that you read a lot, because your mom don't read a lot, but I learn a lot from your reading. So I appreciate it.
Yes, and I will close out. Well, before we close out, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with somebody who you think would find this valuable. Also, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you are notified every time we go live. And I will end with this quote from Dr. Daniel Amen's book, The End of Mental Illness. He says, "Science advances through funerals."
Oh.
Think about that. Science advances through funerals.
Interesting.
Right? We've talked before, like I think it was last week and many times, that in the nutrition space, they say it takes 17 years for research to end up being communicated at doctors' offices to their actual patients. But with his work, we won't really see advancement until people who are very attached to the old way of doing things pass away. They're so attached, they're not open to new ideas. True. And so this is why he makes the statement, science advances through funerals.
And that's why you have to keep your mind very young. Keep your mind young. This way you're very open. Yes.
Yeah.
Keep it like sponge.
Because people are literally dying. And who's dying the most? It's our community.
Yeah, the younger people, which is so sad though.
Yeah.
The,
so we need
the younger
to do
people
something.
dying from a lot of things. So, it's sad. It's very sad.
But on that note, let's not end on a sad note. On that note, have a blessed day. Say positive things to yourself today. And if your mind comes back with anything negative, say, "You's a liar. The devil is a liar." Right? And pick up Dr. Daniel Amen's book. Get you some broccoli and beet juice. And
a little carrot in there too.
And eat your greens, all right? And have a good time. Okay. Exercise is not optional. Get that dopamine drip from the exercise. Exercise. All right. Thank you so much for joining us live. We'll see you next week.